Hi, welcome to the making of my Spider-Verse plus Hollow Knight animation. Some of you asked me for details about the project and my creation process in the comment section, so that's what I'll be covering in this video. I hope you'll learn new things, and of course, don't hesitate to watch the full animation before this. The link's down here in the description. Okay, first, I'd like you to know that this project had a kind of chaotic production. I can't recall every detail, but I think my working curve looked like something like this in the end. Yeah, I know it's terrible. I started working on this back in 2021, but I gave up several times. Fortunately, I recently rediscovered the motivation to see it through to the end. I'd say it took me 4 to 5 months in total, making it the most ambitious 2D animation I managed to finish so far. Oh, and if you're wondering how I got the idea, oh god, I love that movie with the spider-like character in the city, and I also love that game with the spider-like character in the city. Oh, alright, now let's see how I made it. In case you didn't notice, and I hope you did, this entire animation is based on an existing scene from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so luckily I didn't have to make any script or storyboard. However, I still needed to do some things before jumping into the animation, since the character and the environment were different. Although I played Hollow Knight many times, I started by collecting various references of Hornet and the City of Tears, and, most importantly, cinematics for the art style. I then made this color test that eventually became my character model sheet for the animation. Just like the rest of the project, this was made using Clip Studio Paint and After Effects. After that, I went through some layouts, essentially to set the values and framing of each shot, and consider the necessary adaptations. For example, since Hornet can't canonically stick to walls, I made her cling to her needle before jumping. Her poses had to be adapted too, since she had to hold this needle at any time in addition to having a significantly bigger head than Miles. Surprisingly enough, this didn't take much time to make, and I could already have a preview of the sequence using only still images. Now I was ready to start animating. It really depended on the cuts, but overall, there wasn't a crazy animation in there. For the most complex movements, I relied on the original, yet still adapted them to suit the character. Once animated, I cleaned and colored each frame. Usually in 2D animation you don't want to spend days doing complex shading, so you either do simple cel shading or don't bother doing any shading at all. However, since Hornet has really simple shapes, I could allow myself to spend more time aligning by blurring some of the hard shadow edges and adding thin highlights. It gives more roundness to the shapes and fits better the Hollow Knight cinematic art style. Then all I had to do was export each layer individually as an image sequence and throw them into After Effects. Once there, I still needed to do some background, but while looking at this I told myself, well, these layouts are actually pretty good already. So I polished them a bit, tweaked the color curves, and voila, the backgrounds were done. For shots with significant camera movement, I essentially mashed 2D layers together and transformed them over time to make the whole thing look 3D, even though there's no actual 3D at all. It helps create an organic feel to the environments like the ones in Hollow Knight. Well, I kinda lied. Technically, for this shot where the camera follows Hornet falling, I used flat 3D layers to create the parallax effect, but hey, that's how they do it in the game, don't blame me. Then finally, I added various effects such as directional blur, the raindrops, the glass shader, etc. But also plenty of filters to visually enhance the animation. So much better. You may notice that the overall saturation is slightly higher than in Hollow Knight, as a reminder of the pop and vibrant colors from Spider-Verse. Okay, the animation is done now, time to make the music. Well, to be honest, it's one of the first things I made for this project, but for video structuring matters, I put it here. The idea was to recreate What's Up Danger with a more orchestral approach, to match the music style of Hollow Knight. Oh, and for your information, I'm working on my beloved FL Studio. Keep going. The first thing we need is a low piano paired with a double bass for the intro. Then let's add some orchestral percussions. And a tremolo directly sampled from the final boss theme. Well, it's missing the... but we'll replace it with a slowed down loop from the theme of the City of Tears. I wasn't initially planning to do this mashup, but fortunately I still tried and it sounded way better with this gentle harp and piano in the background. Moving on to the second part.
That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
Okay, first we need a bright piano with reverb over high-pitched strings. Not very different from the original. Now a fat double bass layered with piano and cello. Hollow Knight is a kinda quiet game, so I decided not to put actual voice in this piece, but instead use a powerful piano with delay. While being a quiet game though, it often uses Divine Choir in its music, so let's add some. Alright, that's it for the music. For the ones who wanted to hear the full song, well, I only made that specific section of it, sorry. Now about the sound effects, well, I've added some sounds. What else to say? Yeah, some of them are directly from the game. You may recognize some more if you played it, mostly from the Knight and Hornet movement sounds. And Ventress, of course. So at this point, everything was done, though when I was about to hit export, I thought, wait, what about add a title, because, you know, it's a bit sad to end like this. So I took the name of the root folder of my project, which was Speed Hornet, a pretty straightforward mix of Spider-Man and Hornet, keeping the H because as a French teen at the time, I didn't know much about English pronunciation. So Spider-Net into the Hollowverse, referencing Hollownest, was my final take. It may sound goofy to some, but I was honestly too lazy to find something better anyway. As for the design, I basically copied the look of the logo from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but with the font and details from Hollow Knight Silksong. I know it's hard. I separated the layers and combined them in After Effects with glitch footage in various blending modes, animated them, and there it was. So now you may ask me, what's next? I want the full sequence. Well, I actually thought about animating the whole thing, but honestly, I probably would have given up for real at some point, knowing how long it would have taken for a single person. I don't plan to do more of this, I'm just gonna move on to other projects, I guess. In any case, thank you so much for sharing my animation with others. I'm really glad so many people liked it. Hope you enjoyed this making of as well. Thanks for watching.